Ever seen Bigfoot wrapped in Christmas lights? Stomping around like he owns a place?
I just wish it wasn't political.
I feel that. I don't know why they support Christmas light Bigfoot.
I just don't get it. I just don't understand.
I just don't understand.
What happened to Merry Christmas, by the way?
All right, what is up, you empty can of Pringles? Welcome to the Dickie Dines Show.
Can't get my hand in here.
Why can't you get your hand in there?
There's an empty can of Pringles. I can't
It's
fit
true.
my big meat grabbers.
You cannot get your hand inside the audience.
Well,
because they are empty cans of Pringles. So don't try. You might get in trouble. All right, so today we have a fun one for you guys. I asked you all on our Facebook page, what is a good metal album to show someone if you're trying to get them into metal? And it could be a metal album or metal band. How would you introduce them to the world of metal? And there's a lot of different answers. There's also a lot of different opinions on what metal is, because a lot of people are kind of like giving like hardcore bands or post-hardcore bands that aren't really specifically metal
bands. Come on, guys.
Yeah, the core's not metal.
We've agreed.
Duh.
It's not metal. It's its own cooler thing.
It's yeah. So let's just jump right into this and see what y'all had to say. Some of these were there were a few very obvious ones. We'll get to that towards the end.
Before we hop right into it, can I point out that Kevin just Googled Bing?
Sometimes you have to Google Bing if you want the right answers. You know what I mean? All right. Okay. So Justin Hammond, he says the best record to get people into metal is All That Remains: The Fall of Ideals. Ooh. Because Ollie Herbert, the shredding solos, the ripping riffs, the guitar supremacy, the clean vocals and melodies are attractive. It's a nice, balanced album.
That album is very sick.
That album is so sick.
Yeah. It is core, so we're going to have to dock it.
It is, yeah.
We're going to have to dock it.
It's not quite. I did notice a trend here where it seems that most people give the album of what they were introduced to first.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying, well, I discovered this record, so this
Which
one
is different.
But with that being said, there are definitely records that shine above a lot of other ones, and I think Fall of Ideals
is a big one.
I remember not specifically the record itself, but like This Calling. I remember hearing that. I think it was on Fuse or something, MTV back in the day. This
Calling was crazy.
And I remember like when I heard the double bass in the chorus, and I hear this double bass. Like I was like, that was the first time I had ever heard drums that fast.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, I was probably
what, you can
13.
Go that quick?
I mean, this was 20 years ago. So for me, it was like, what am I listening to? That is like insanity. And so that really, and like he said, the clean vocals and the melodies, because you have like the down,
little heavy aspect.
It's like it's metal, melodic. It's like really shreddy, but the singing and stuff won't push away an audience that's like, oh, screaming. Like there are screams, but it's also like you have that catchiness.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good gateway.
Going to be the best to bring you in, ones that are like singing, but then there's a scream and you're like, well, hold on.
Exactly.
I didn't know I liked that in moderation.
And I feel like it goes either way, where like if you hear a scream initially, you're either going to be, what? Gross. Or you're going to be like, whoa.
You're like, I never thought about that.
That's really cool sounding. And of course, it depends on what screamer you're listening to, because like this type of screaming or like a Rise record band type screaming is going to be way different than like a Cannibal Corpse, like
grunty growl.
It's going to be way different, obviously. But I do agree. This is a solid record, solid choice.
Shout out All That Remains. If you're 24 to 34, you're probably inspired by this band.
Fall of Ideals. And yeah, great guitar work. Next up, Chase Cohen says, not in any order, but The Poison by Bullet for My Valentine, Iowa, and Volume 3 by Slipknot, Horizons by Parkway Drive, Follow the Leader by Korn, and Sick and Disgusting by Beartooth, which is kind of like, I would say not metal specifically, but it's the gateway to heavy stuff, because it is heavier.
The Beartooth,
like Beartooth,
they're definitely like metalcore. Yeah, especially the Sick and Disgusting record.
More hardcore, I think, like punk even, but definitely metalcore-ish. The Poison was really cool. I remember listening to that record a lot. Iowa for sure would be like just that would be just like, okay, strap in. We're going for it.
That's like exposure therapy. Iowa playing it and just like desensitize them now.
Yeah, Iowa's an intense record.
The Beartooth one's a good, like if you've never listened to like screaming at all before, that was like a good one to get in. Because he's borderline like, it's like when...
just shouting.
Yeah, like when they sing high and it's like... It's like that type of yell almost. That was the first one that Nicole like really fucked with, where she started to get more into that music. Yeah, it was a great one.
The really catchy choruses on Beartooth as well. Horizons is a great record.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say Horizons, but more specifically, just introduce them to Adam D and like all the records Adam D wrote and produced, because literally, I mean, Devil Wears Prada, Killswitch Engage, Horizons, Parkway Drive. Unearth, he did so many records that you probably don't realize he did, like either co-wrote or produced.
I know you listed like the sickest metalcore.
Oh, dude, no. Adam D was a sound. Like he literally, his producing and his writing was like a generation of metalcore.
Shout out to him then, because dude, the Parkway, those riffs specifically, I feel like that birthed like a wave of inspiration for kids getting into guitar. I remember people talking about like Carry On and stuff, just being like, dude, I gotta learn how to fucking play that. That's crazy.
Yeah, Adam D, man.
Shout out at Mr. D.
I would just give, if it was me personally, introducing people to like metal, at least I wouldn't go full in, like, because obviously like the metalcore is more pretty, has more singing, and it's more melodic than like death metal, which is great. But if you just show most people like Cattle Decap, they're gonna be like, whoa. But if you show them this stuff first, they could listen to Cattle Decap like I kind of did, and then be like, okay, I get it. Right. This is cool. I would just show them Adam D. Any record Adam D made in the past 10, 15 years. Yeah, so he did Acacia Strain. He did The Fall of Ideals, All That Remains. so he did that one. He did An Ocean Between Us, As I Lay Dying, August Burns Red, Every Time I Die, From Autumn to Ashes, He Is Legend, Norma Jean, Parkway Drive, Shadows Fall, Under Oath, Unearth, Agony Scene, Devil Wears Prada. I mean, all Adam D. So, I don't think people realize how influential Adam D as a guitarist, songwriter, producer really actually was.
How much the D's been involved.
Him and Sturgis probably were the two that like, because Sturgis was more like dun 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 dun, like Asking Alexandria, Stand Up and Scream. He was more that. Adam D was more like thick riffs, chunky, just like
Adam D makes metalcore your dad could like.
Yeah, and just really melodic, really, really cool shit. So all these are great. Moving on, number 3 is Nick Codron says Sleep Token, and this one actually got the most
I bet.
like it was the most controversial, which, you know, fair enough, like because this is what I will say about Sleep Token, that I think they're actually cool in the sense that people are like, oh, they're metal, and then people are like, no, they're not, and it's like whether they are or not, I think they have this really cool spot they're in where they're bringing people into the metal world, and they're doing it in a way that's like they're leaning more towards the pop and the more like pretty trappy like mainstream stuff, but then they're doing like the really like dun 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 like stuff like that. So it's kind of like easing a new generation into metal, which I think is cool. Yeah, and whether you think it's metal or not, I think they're actually kind of a very powerful gateway for the younger generation to get into what most people would consider metal to be. So I got to give them props for that.
Yeah, the way they sprinkle it in, sometimes you don't even realize you're listening to like really heavy distorted guitar and stuff because it's so like ambient and chill, and then all of a sudden there's like a background like you're not even realizing you're enjoying like elements of the thing you probably didn't know you liked.
Right. I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, regardless of how you feel about the genre, it is getting people into heavier music
Mm-hmm.
through like the means of pretty guys. Like,
Yeah.
like it's using pop to get people into metal.
Yeah, they also won like 9 of Nick Nocturnal's fucking awards, the Sleep Token Award show.
For real.
Which is funny because people were like so upset about it, but it's like, this is audience voted.
Right.
Like, you guys, like, what are you upset about? Like, you guys voted. Anyway, Zach Seif says hybrid theory, which I strongly agree with.
Yeah.
Linkin Park are the perfect gateway band for most people because of their equal parts heaviness and commercialism, just like how we were talking about with Sleep Token.
Mm-hmm.
Down-tuned guitars and breakdowns with screaming mixed with melodic choruses and synths/keys. Plus, given how prominent rap and hip-hop are today, the rapping would be a huge bonus as well. Finally, the mix is timeless. The mix is amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This record sounds like something a band like Spiritbox or Architects would release today, and yet it came out over 20 years ago. I mean, that's just what, like Warner Brothers funding. You know what I mean? But yes, it sounds fucking amazing. And again, the same with Sleep Token. It's like they have the heavy stuff, they have the melody and the singing, and Chester's voice, it was so good. Mm-hmm. Like, and because it wasn't just like pretty boy, it was like gritty and thick, and he had that fire behind it, and it was edgy and aggressive, and it was distorted, but he wasn't screaming all the time, but it was just like this powerful.
His enunciation's super clear too, so I feel like lyrically when you're younger, like that is such a because like when you listen to pop or like country or things like that, you're maybe not able to like relate directly to that, but then you hear somebody who's like bearing his soul of how sad and like devastated he is, and you instantly be like, whoa, like I didn't know I could resonate with this type of shit. And then Linkin Park was a good one for me to like really care about words and music.
For sure.
The first time I really started like, yo, these motherfuckers saying something.
Yeah, and then you had Mike Shinoda with the rap.
Yeah,
and he was rapping over guitar riffs, which was like, what? You can do that? This came out over 20 years ago.
Rare time when the Janko jeans and the emos can fucking shake.
Dude, it was a sick record. It was one of the first new metal records, hard rock, whatever you want to call it. It was the first of that style I ever listened to. It was Hybrid Theory, POD Satellite.
Nice.
Those were the first 2 hard rock metal records, new metal records I ever listened to.
POD, man.
And they were just so good at that because it was like the rap stuff, like POD the same way. Satellite, it was, last day of the rest of my life. And he's just rapping, but it's over guitar riffs and real drums, and you're like, I fuck with this.
The genre
it's like,
melding
cool.
these are, I think we're finding a cool pattern that like a good gateway is taking a genre and then adding like metalifying it so that there's elements of stuff that you're familiar with and like, and then you're like, wait, I didn't know I was into guitars like that.
Yeah, and like you need everything. You need to have the death metal bands. You need to have the classic metal like Iron Maiden with the shredding guitar solos. You need to have all that stuff. But you also need to have the gateway bands that take genres, they put them together, and they cross like platforms.
Barriers.
They get millions of more people to listen to metal, to pick up a guitar, to pick up drums. Like it's you need stuff like that. So Tim Arendt says so he actually goes in on this, and he has a good point here. He says, I wouldn't use the same album to get everyone into metal. If I'm introducing someone to metal, what album I hand them would depend on their musical taste. If they're currently into rap, I'd probably start them with something from Rage Against the Machine. If they were into trap, I would start them with something from Suicide Boys or Fever 333. If they were more into classical, I might introduce them to some neoclassical like Yngwie Malmsteen or even Rainbow. Having some familiarity with a portion of the music can help them feel more comfortable with what they're listening to, and therefore help the transition go smoother. So it's the same thing of just like what we were talking about, just things to, because you don't want to scare people. I mean, unless you do, which is funny. That's what my old drummer did to me. He showed me Disfiguring the Goddess or I Declare Goddess. There was a YouTube video, I Declare Goddess, and it was just these 2 guys just going, and like, I was just like, what the fuck is this?
Right. Like, are they saying words?
Showing me,
that's the best part.
Yeah, showing me Waking the Cadaver. And I was just like, this is scary. I mean, I was like 14 at the time, but I was just like, this is crazy. Like, and I didn't want to listen to it for a long time,
It's like eating something really bad before you eat something okay. And you're like, this is so good.
Yeah.
And you go back to lighter stuff, and you're like, okay, hold on, now I'm kind of into this.
Exactly. So there's a lot to be said for that. Ben Jones says, as daylight dies, Killswitch Engage, just because of my curse alone, but also I feel it jumps between intense and melodic very well. Killswitch Engage, I think, is great. Another one of those bands that Adam D. Just fucking Adam D, classic. Dude. Like, honestly, that was my intro to most harder music, heavier music, metalcore, all those bands. Killswitch Engage, Unearth, Devil Wears Prada, As I Lay Dying, Norma Jean. That was everything I listened to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I gotta give a shout out again for
the double
Adam
kick
D.
chorus, bro.
Double kick choruses, man. I mean, it was just so good. Hannah says entire Nightwish discography. Why not start with the best? So
respect.
We listened to Nightwish, one of the records, on the way home. It was like a 3-hour drive a few weeks ago, and I gotta say, like, after listening to like 10 or 12 Nightwish songs, I'm like, where does the last song end and this song start? They really do like just kind of all flow into itself, which is fine. I guess if you're like doing a concept or if you're doing a concert, you kind of want to have a very similar sound going.
You're like, what album am I on?
The problem I have with Nightwish for me is that there's like, I'm probably going to get flamed for saying this, but I don't care. There's not any peak moments that are super catchy that get my attention and stick in my head. Mm. A lot of their songs are just like a run-on sentence to me, where it's like, okay, and then next, which is fine if you like progressive music and all that stuff.
It's like music to do homework to.
But there's just nothing like they have a few songs that are catchy. They do, but like most of their discography is like you're just listening to the sounds of like mushrooms grow and Richard Dawkins talking in the background about mermaids and aliens and
sounds
stuff.
Of mushrooms growing.
They're great though. They are very talented. I am not going to take that away from them. I think Flori Jensen, their singer, is an amazing singer.
Flori Jensen, that's a wild name.
But yeah, just, I don't know. And the fact that like I don't know if it's their keyboardist or the guitarist, the guy who writes all the music, also kind of like has a thing with all the different female vocalists and then kicks them out and then gets a new one and then falls in love with them and then has a thing, then kicks them out, then has the new vocalist write a song about his ex-vocalist, which they dated, which is weird. So it's like this weird fucking thing. I don't know exactly
I don't know much about that.
I don't know much about that, but I've just from things I've heard, it's a little weird. But anyway, Nathan Howard says Avenged Sevenfold self-titled record. We had a lot of Avenged Sevenfold answers, either self-titled or City of Evil, which I strongly agree with City of Evil, but mostly because that was what I initially got into, was City of Evil, Beast and the Harlot, and then obviously self-titled with like Lost and stuff, the great songs.
Yeah, I got into City of Evil after the self-titled. I found the self-titled first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the fucking... I used to find so many bands from the Comcast On Demand feature where you just go to the music video section, and you're like, I've never heard any of these, and just click on it. And it was almost easy from that record. And I was like, dude, what the... It was so... It's like different because I was really into core before that, and then all of a sudden I heard like that type of riffing, and I was like, hold on now.
Yeah, I will always have a good place in my heart for City of Evil because I remember being in high school and I was driving in my old Jeep at the time, and I was blasting it.
Hell yeah,
blasting it, and then this car pulls up next to me, and there's like this hot chick in the driver's side or whatever, and I look over. And she like looks alternative, so she probably likes it. And she like looks at me, and then I like kind of look back, and I look again, and she like waves at me, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm cool. This is awesome. Let's go."
Welcome on date.
It's like, yeah, Avenged Sevenfold.
That's pretty funny.
Hell yeah, dude.
She's like, "I'll be your Harley."
Yeah, exactly. Ryan Johnson says, depends on the circumstances. If they know nothing about metal, I'd show them Master of Puppets by Metallica. Tons of Metallica. Tons of Metallica answers. But if they know a little bit about metal, then I'd show them the End of Heartache, End of Heartbreak, End of Heartache, I think he means, by KSE, because those are both great introductions into what metal is and what great metal sounds like. We had a ton of Metallica. Black Album would be a good one, for sure. I was talking to Finn about this a while ago, and I was just like, dude, the Black Album's mix, the mix on that record is to this day untouchable. It's so good, and I don't know why. It just sounds so fucking good.
Dude, yeah. That was the first Metallica CD I had.
Black
Album.
So
I think it was their
good.
10-year re-release that they did.
Yeah. He says you can't just show someone Caveman Slam or black metal and expect them to get it. You have to give them the opportunity to get an understanding of the basics first. I would say that like you can show someone black metal, but I feel like if you were to tell them, show them a documentary first. Literally show them like this is what this is. Like, let them understand the history of it. Let them see like what it stands for, what it means, what it's all about, and then show them the music. Because like with the backstory, they would be like, oh, it's not even really about the music. It's about like a movement of anarchy and racism, basically. And the music is almost secondary. It just has to be like, it has to sound as awful as it possibly can. It's just terrible. It's like, oh, well, in that case, yeah, this makes sense, you know?
A little, like a bean can that you're hitting a stick inside of.
And for sure.
And then it's black and white and it says with context. And it's the same sound, but just black and white now.
100%. Robert Dahl says, my grandma introduced me to metal when she gave me the Black Album to my 8th birthday. I believe the album is still a good gateway to metal some 30 years later. Yep. Like another Black Album, Metallica. There was a few Ride the Lightnings. Just Metallica in general. That's, you know, that's so like standard metal. It's like, oh, well, this is what a guitar is, and these are what real live drums sound like. It's like, oh, okay. Like if you only listen to rap and hip hop and trap, it's like, oh, well, I've never heard a guitar. Okay, Metallica, cool. And like harsher vocals, you know. But I would say like it would be like the step 2 metal chaos would go like Metallica, and then like Iron Maiden, and then like Megadeth, because it gets a little weirder, and it's like, hey guys, and the riffs get like, you know, kind of more intense.
Classic denotion of metal. Hey guys.
And then when you get down to black metal, then it's like, yeah guys.
So funny, dude. If I didn't know what Metallica was, and my grandma came up to me and said, I've got the Black Album for you, I'd be like, whoa, grandma, you can't just say that.
It's funny. Eric Morgan said Indestructible by Disturbed. It's the album that introduced me to metal and hard rock. I discovered it by accident, but 12 years later, I still remember the chill I felt running down my spine when The Night started playing. The sense of awe I felt upon discovering something so new and unlike anything I had ever heard before is a sensation I hope everyone experiences at some point in their life.
Bro, I back this. There's fewer like exhilarating moments than being 12 years old while Disturbed plays on Halo.
Yeah.
Indestructible.
Oh like, yeah, dude.
Fucking, I'm dropping plates.
It's so funny because nowadays his little is so memed.
Right.
But back when that dropped,
it was like the coolest thing ever.
The first time you heard that, you had never heard that ever before. Ever. Unless you were into like some really weird underground like hardcore music. But mainstream, it didn't. Like Korn and Disturbed were the first people to start doing that crazy like
making sounds with your voice versus
like when I first heard that, I was like, that is the sickest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I was like, I thought he was like some kind of fucking creature.
Dude, for real. Yeah,
I was like, this is why. I mean, I was like 12, but and
then he follows it up with the cock choke.
Yeah. Dude, it was sick. They're sick, and they have like, it's funny because if you listen to a lot of their earlier stuff, like it was very like genty. Even like some early Breaking Benjamin stuff, like their verse riffs would just be like dun 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 bum 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 dun 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 dun. Like they're just plucking lows, like the original Genters was like Disturbed, you know.
You heard it here first, folks.
And then he would like syncopate with his voice. You know, so it was like this very cool, like, oh, this is like really groovy, and it's, you know, he's singing and huge choruses, and yeah, that guy has an amazing voice. Very powerful voice.
Mr. Draymond.
Martin says, I think Metallica Ride the Lightning, all bangers, not up to debate. Fight me IRL. Or if the person wants something more heavy, I would go to Orbit Culture.
Oh, wow.
That album is amazing. The riffs are punchy and the vocals are great.
Yeah, Orbit Culture fucks.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I haven't listened to too much of them. I have listened to them before. I have not like done a deep dive on that band, but I've been seeing their name pop up more recently.
Yeah, I feel like Orbit Culture's a band you've been tricked into. Like, hold on, are they doing core? like if you're like a metalhead and then you're listening to that and you didn't realize you were bopping your head to like a core riff.
You're like, oh shit.
Oh no.
I'm a poser.
Gotta clear my history.
Ludwig Music says Ice Nine kills every trick in the book.
Okay, yeah.
Most of it's pretty heavy, but they also have some awesome ballad-esque songs, and every song is inspired by a piece of popular literature. Animal Farm, Dracula, The Exorcist, Romeo and Juliet, and a lot of good others. Honestly, the whole album made me want to go back and read a lot of these books again. I was forced to read most of them in high school, and I didn't enjoy them, but I think now I just might.
Yeah, dude, Ice Nine Kills has the cheat code fucking found out of having the like horror literature and then doing horror movies. That's like the best way to get 16-year-olds like stoked into your music. Like, I like horror, and then you see, I buy the merch, I like these things, and then you see a song about Ghostface, and you're like, what the fuck, I didn't know, and it's heavy. Yeah. Like, that's it's like the fucking the
everything you've ever loved.
It's literally like the cheat code to get people into your music, and they'll like, if they continue this, they'll have an audience of kids always turning 16 to 17 that will love that shit. It is the perfect fucking get into this genre band.
For sure.
I agree with that.
I didn't get into them much back in high school, but lately I've been really fucking with them. They got some good songs.
The Shower Scene got you, right?
Shower Scene got me in, and then I started listening to like American Nightmare and like all the other bangers they have, and I'm like, this band is actually fucking sick.
Dude, yeah, they're older shit. You should check out a couple of those tracks from like Safe is Just a Shadow. That was when they were like metalcore, weren't about movies or anything, and the songs were. They had a song that was Chris Brown's latest hit, like stuff like that.
Holy shit! All right, got a couple more here. James Lovell says Lamb of God, Sacrament is the best choice, and here's why. It remains heavy and consistent the entire time and still has catchy elements to grasp onto and stick in your head. Mark and Will's riff writing remains some of the best of all time, and people can catch onto the groove and bang their head. From the soaring solo in Walk With Me and Hell to the crushing breakdown in Pathetic, I feel it'd be the best intro to what metal truly can be. Randy's vocals aren't ultra guttural, but he hits some gnarly lows and highs, and you are still able to understand him. Plus, he adds catchy hooks to his lyrics and patterns. I agree with that. The Sacrament is another one that I used to blast in my old Jeep when I would drive through town all the time. Great songs. Like, that whole record is so sick. And like the cool thing with Randy's vocals, which we touched on, is he is very understandable. He overpronounces his words so much that it's like you can just hear everything he's saying, like wow,
every syllable.
Walk with me, like it's really cool. And yeah, the riffs are like interesting because it's like I think it's just standard tuning or drop D tuning, but they sound so heavy, and it's just like, and it's like, dude, that's fucking cool.
I love those types, like the fucking Now You've Got Something to Die For intro. I don't think that's this album, but still, just those Lamb of God riffs were crazy.
So good.
I used to be scared of like music like Lamb of God when I was younger. It was like if I saw like backwoods rednecks listening to metal, I was like, that's a scary band. Like,
my mom said I can't listen to that band.
If I can't hang out with those guys, there's no way I can listen to their music.
That's so funny. Mitchell says the Black Album by Metallica.
Dude, Metallica.
Chances are they already know Enter Sandman, so there's familiarity. The album has a ballad in Nothing Else Matters. Heavier songs like Sad But True, amazing vocals, shredding solos, hella riffs, and awesome bass lines. Drums. It's got something for everyone. Yeah, Metallica, just more Metallica.
The Black Album and Master of Puppets are just,
so good.
Two, just, come on. Get both of them. Check them both out.
Tanner Tobias says, Death, Sound of Perseverance, doesn't need an explanation. I don't know if I've ever listened to this record, but now that I said that, I probably will.
Yeah, I'd be
because I know Death is really cool. I've listened to some Death songs, but I don't know if I've ever listened to this specific record.
I'd be impressed if you got like somebody who doesn't listen to metal into metal off of playing Death.
Yeah.
For them.
Some people would be like, "Oh, whoa, this is a vibe." This sounds crazy.
And other people be like, I'm not gonna Spotify search death, Jason.
Noah Cowan says Iron Maiden's self-titled debut, not too over the top for the non-metal listeners, but still metal enough, and it's just a classic heavy metal album that I think people should give a listen. Phantom of the Opera is one of my favorite Maiden songs. Who just covered that? Wasn't it Ghost just covered Phantom of the Opera?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, brought it back into the limelight.
It was like the one cool
the
song
one good
on that
one
EP.
that they covered. Yeah. Well, it's such a good song, and yeah, Iron Maiden, obviously classic. You know, they're a really cool metal band to get into for like the lore of the band too, because they have like their mascot. They have so much. Yeah, what's his name? Eddie. Freddie. They have a ton of like different merch. They have so many cool collectible items. And then just, the people involved, like Bruce Dickinson. I mean, he does 1,000 different things. He's like so good at everything that he does.
Plus,
so it's
his
like
kid had a cool ass metalcore band too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, which he got a lot of shit for.
I know, and they broke up because of it.
Because it's not metal. It was too fucking.
They were sick, dude. Rise to Remain.
Yeah.
Check them out if you never listened to them. I'm serious. They were fucking tight.
Bruce Dickinson's son, yeah.
Yeah, the comments were just flooded. Like, I'd be so disappointed if my son became a core kid.
So lame, dude. Which is so funny because you know that like when Iron Maiden came out, there were people that said that about them. Mm-hmm. I'd be so disappointed if I played metal. Like, what is this dumb shit? Yeah. Like, it's just how it was. What
dude's up to now? Great.
His son?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
He was a great vocalist, great singer and screamer.
If you watch the Diggy Dine show, comment below.
Let
us know.
I'm gonna have to do some research.
Get you on a podcast.
See if he's doing stuff still.
Iron Maiden's great. Colby Davis says Pantera, vulgar display of power, great riffs and lyrics, and a lot of the songs are catchy and hit hard. The album is pretty approachable for someone getting into metal or has never heard metal before while being heavy, but not so heavy they won't be able to pick up on the vocals, unlike some bands. I specifically remember listening to Cowboys from Hell, Cemetery Gates. There was like 3 or 4 Pantera songs. There was 3 or 4 versions of Cowboys from Hell I would put on repeat. 3 or 4
Cowboys that killed me in Pantera.
There was 3 or 4 Pantera songs that I would have on like burned CDs, which half of you watching probably don't even know what those are anymore. That I would listen to, and the thing that stuck with me was unfortunately I think something that's dying in modern era is the tone of the record, the tone of the mix, and the tone like of the guitars. Like the Randall amps that Dimebag used to use sounded like dog shit in the coolest way. It's so hard to describe. That sounded so bad, but so cool.
Right. Like it has the tones that producers nowadays would probably try to like polish out. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and like everyone now just uses plugins that everyone else uses. Whereas like that tone might not have been the greatest, but I remember specifically listening to it, and I would know it's a Pantera song because of that tone. And it was like, I don't know who this is, but now I do because, oh yeah, that's definitely Dimebag's tone.
Right.
So I remember getting like, and it was a funny thing too, where I remember even thinking like Cemetery Gates, when, it starts like all pretty and, it's like clean guitars and stuff. And then when it comes in with the riff, I remember thinking like, oh, that sounds so shit, but I love it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know why.
I feel you, dude.
Like,
that's how I feel about the fucking Waking the Cadaver snare.
Yeah,
It sounds like shit, but I fucking love that shit.
It's so funny. It just hits this thing in your brain that's like, oh yeah, it's nice
tickle
little
my lizard brain.
Scratch. And then last one's from Will. He says Horizons by Parkway Drive.
Classic.
It's melodic enough to catch someone's attention that hasn't listened to music that heavy before, but it's still something that they can look back on when they get more into metal and re-listen to it and approach the heaviness more. I started with 3 Days Grace, Creed, Skillet, etc. early, but then got into metalcore pretty quickly and wished I would have found it sooner. Again, to Adam D. Just Adam D, bro. Adam D.
Dude, Skillet is such a like
memed on band.
That too, but a gateway to metalcore. Like the amount of people I've heard that were like super into metalcore or like core now or Skillet is always like in their foundation when they were younger. They had the building blocks of being heavy, but
it's because we're all youth group kids.
True.
It was Skillet, 12 Stones, Flyleaf.
Dude, 12 Stones was a deep cut out. Dude, Adrenaline.
Yeah, 12 Stones. Yeah, Pillar. Dude, Pillar. Do you remember Pillar?
Stop, dude. I just relived my Pillar trauma last night.
What?
Because the fucking show that you guys played in Nashville, where the guitarist of Pillar came out.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to babysit his kid for 8 hours. It was in a different room from the show. The merch table. So the kid wasn't even watching the show. They were just at the table with me, and they wouldn't leave me alone. And they kept saying inappropriate things to customers. And they were like, they'd look at me like, "What's this about?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't even know who this is. I've never even listened to Pillar, and I've got his kid with me."
Why were you babysitting?
Because I was doing merch for you guys, and the dad just dropped his kid off at the table.
Oh my god!
And then they've done that before. They have to.
It was the dude with the dreads. Yeah. And
they weren't like, "Where's my dad?" They clearly have been in this situation. They were like, "Hey, find somebody and then leave me alone." And they did. God. And they were just on my ass the whole night.
That's like, crazy.
He's so nice. It's like, please shut up,
dude. Do you remember Project 86?
Is that a venue?
No, it was a Christian band. No. Project 86, man, or Mortal Treason. That was another one.
I don't know that one either.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, these are like deep cuts, man. These are like bands that had maybe like 5,000 plays on some of their videos.
Living Sacrifice was
Living Sacrifice, dude.
That's
my god.
That's the funny thing about Pillar is I've never even heard a Pillar song.
Dude, some of the songs are sick.
I just know the band name because
Pillar's
of that
got
night.
Like the Frontline, I think is the song. This is super sick. What's the other? What's the other song?
Red was sick.
Red was funny because they were like every song was like a 2-minute intro, which I was like so annoyed by. But they had some bangers for sure.
He sounds like Chester Bennington, and I think once I say that, you can't unhear it.
It's like if Chester had a good life.
Has that guy had a good life? I don't know.
What, the red guy?
The red guy.
No,
yeah.
I'm saying his voice is like doesn't have that pain in it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like if Chester found God, he'd be the red guy.
He'd be the red guy.
He even looks like a bald Chester Bennington here.
That's funny.
Chester balded.
But yeah, so that's those are some albums and some bands to get people into the beautiful world of metal. Did we miss any bands that you think are crucial? Probably. I mean, even bands that aren't necessarily metal, like System of a Down, I wouldn't call them metal. Or Rage Against the Machine, I wouldn't call them metal.
I feel like
but it's like they get you into that world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Korn. Korn's
great.
Yeah.
It's a great intro. Like a more modern one, I feel like Electric Callboy would be a good
Electric Callboy
because it's like hyper pop 'em.
100%.
Like Eurovision pop and
Sleep Token.
breakdowns.
As much as you might not like them, they're doing some cool Gateway. They're doing some cool Gateway shit. You know, they're getting people into the band or into the genre. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to help support the Dickie Diane Show, you can in the links down below. We have a Patreon. We're getting close to 250 active members, which means a lot to us. It keeps our light on, the one big one, and it keeps our camera guy coming back every week to help us. So if you want to go there, you get some extra perks from the Dickie Diane Show Patreon. We also have merch and links in the description below. We need to get some new merch though. So we need to get a couple new designs in there. So we'll work on that soon. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.